Hello everyone, Olivia Reiner here at Lambeau Field, joined by none other than Ryan Wood, here to preview Sunday's game and also just take some of your questions leading up to the game against the Broncos and the Packers. Ryan, how are you today?
I'm awesome. How are you?
Good. It is warm out here.
It is warm. Mother Nature's holding on as much as it can to this warm weather. Usually by, September 20th? I've had some cold September 20th. This is a hot one, so I'll take it.
I don't know if we should get so used to it just because I think rain is in the forecast tomorrow and a lot of next week. It might be raining on Thursday night.
We shouldn't get used to it because it's getting to be late September in Green Bay. So winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
But it's not here yet, so I like that.
Not
it's good.
A Game of Thrones gal.
I'm not either.
I know that.
The cool kids say it, so I thought I would too.
So guys, they're getting the field ready behind us. So while we're here, maybe ask us some questions. Go over to our Facebook page. We should also be live on Periscope and on YouTube. So if you're watching us there, hello. Thank you for joining us. I will be taking a look over at Facebook just because questions are a little bit more streamlined and I am only one lone sad person handling this. But if you ever have questions and you want to get them into me early, you can always tweet me. I'll keep a mental note of them and we can get to some of those early. But we always like to start out by talking about some of the injury news. So worth noting, Jimmy Graham returned today to practice. We don't know exactly what the extent of his return to practice was. We don't know how limited he was in practice. We'll hopefully get the injury report very soon.
Although Matt LaFleur did say he looked good. It seems like he seems like he's okay, barring a setback. The big news today, though, Olivia, we got a new starting left guard here in Green Bay.
Yes.
The rookie has arrived. It's Elgton Jenkins who's going to get the start. Lane Taylor missed today's practice because of the biceps injury. And I think we were all on the sideline thinking the same thing. Well, gives them an opening to start the rookie now, and that's what they're going to do. Matt LaFleur said that's the expectation for Elgton Jenkins to start. And it's a job that he might never get back. It might be permanent. He might be now the starting left guard. We'll see how he plays, obviously, and it's going to be balls in his court, but this is a franchise that has wanted its rookie left guard to play quickly. They wanted Elgton Jenkins to get the job out of camp. Lane Taylor held on to it. Here it is week 3, and he's going to be the starting guard.
So how important is it that last week Elgton Jenkins was able to get some reps? He played a couple series last week in the game against the Vikings. How important is that for a rookie to be able to get some of that under his belt before his NFL start?
Yeah, it probably helps. Obviously there's an injury element too with Lane Taylor here, but it certainly helps that this isn't the first time he's played. And just in what Matt LaFleur had to say about him, it sure seemed like he was pretty impressed. He said, he just said he does his job. He's reliable. He's steady, and that's what you want in an interior offensive lineman. I mean, it's not very exciting to say, but that's what the job is: be reliable, be steady, don't mess it up. So that's what he's done. The other thing we should mention: Devontae Adams missed practice today, but it was an excused personal matter. Matt LaFleur said that he is expected to play Sunday, so nothing to freak out about.
Yes, some of you out there did seem concerned, so thank you, Ryan, for clearing the
You're
air. Antonetta asks an interesting question. If Elgton Jenkins wins the starting left guard job permanently, do you think the Packers will keep Lane Taylor?
It always depends on. They have plenty of incentive to do that. It depends on what they can get in a trade. It's still trading season here. I would expect that it wouldn't be much. Not because Lane Taylor's he's an NFL caliber guard, but guards aren't in that high of demand. So I think what you're looking at is an offensive line that has some depth. It's a good thing to have. We've seen some Packers offensive lines over the past couple of years that didn't have much depth, especially on the interior. So this one does. They build up some depth there. The tackle situation is still a big question. When we talk about depth in this offensive line, it's very much the interior, not the perimeter, not the tackle. But if something happens to one of these two tackles, they could slide out of Billy Turner now and have Lane Taylor play. So this is probably very well might not be the last you've heard of Lane Taylor. He gives them some flexibility and some depth there on the inside.
So we already mentioned that Jimmy Graham looking more likely to play on Sunday after missing a couple practices the last 2 days. There are people in the comments section that don't seem to really care about Jimmy Graham and whether or not he's going to play.
Yeah.
We've got, someone asks just straight out, Dennis asks, Jimmy Graham looks like a huge bust. Your thoughts? Is Brian Gutekunst having any regrets at this point over deciding to keep Graham around, the decision he made this past offseason, he had the opportunity, if he really wanted to get rid of him.
I think if Brian Gutekunst is being honest, he would acknowledge that he's made some better moves in the free agent market over the last 2 years. All of them really being this year. He had a terrific spring this year with the Smiths, Adrian Amos, Billy Turner for that matter. Jimmy Graham hasn't done much. I mean, he's got the highest salary cap hit in the league at his position, and he has not reached that level of production. I don't think there's any question about that. So, it's week 3. He's still their top tight end. He's a guy that Aaron Rodgers says every week they need to get involved. There's things that I think he can do. I mean, we saw in the opener he caught the touchdown. I think that he's a big target. He can box guys out in the red zone, in the end zone. He just, between the 20s, he's just not the same runner anymore, and that's big at that position. That was big to his game. So, yeah, I mean, what he's going to give the Packers is going to be a very niched role.
So Jimmy Graham likely to play this weekend. Evan Bayless called up just recently and will likely be at least available to play on Sunday. We'll see what they end up doing with him. Notable people, we did not get to talk to you guys after we heard from the special teams coordinator yesterday, Sean Menenga, and we can confirm now that Darius Shepard and recently signed Tremon Smith will be doing kick return and punt return. We don't know exactly who will be doing what.
Sure sounded like it's going to be Tremon Smith.
So we had a question in here from Andy Howland asking if Darius Shepard is healthy. If so, will he see the punt return this Sunday? He's healthy.
He is. I don't know. I don't know if you got the same vibe talking with Sean Menenga yesterday, but the vibe I got, I could be wrong, it's just a vibe, I'm not reporting it, was that Tremon Smith might be the leader in the clubhouse to be the returner, maybe in both phases. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they trotted out maybe Tramon Williams as a punt returner, since not that he can generate huge home run threats in the punt return game, but he's a reliable guy. Easy enough for me to say. Reliable guy back there. You want a guy that's going to catch the ball first and foremost. Tremon Smith has been much more of a kickoff returner than a punt returner. And punt returner is more difficult, especially more demanding on the hands because you got guys, gunners gunning down on you. But I think Tremon Smith's probably your kickoff returner. Would not surprise me if this punt returner either.
Mm-hmm. How concerned should the Packers be that Tremon Smith doesn't have that punt returning experience?
Yeah, it's something that you'd like to have, but Sean Menenga was saying yesterday that they've repped him there at punt returner in practice, and that he felt like he was catching the football pretty naturally. Now, it's one thing to be inside the Don Hutson Center catching footballs off the jugs machine. It's another thing to be catching a punt in a live stadium with live reps in a game. So, I don't know if you read too much into that, but I do think that they would be comfortable putting him back there if they needed to.
We got this question yesterday too, but it's worth discussing now as well. Josh asks, why did the Packers trade Trevor Davis? The Packers traded Trevor Davis in exchange for a 6th-round pick from the Oakland Raiders. Trevor Davis only caught 9 passes in his tenure here in Green Bay. He obviously returned punts, kicks. Why would the Packers get rid of him? Do they see him just as a sort of a replaceable guy in their offense, or is there something else?
Certainly in their offense. I mean, the void he leaves is special teams. He kind of always reminded me of the offensive version of like a Jarrett Bush, a guy that can be a career special teamer. I'm sure that's what he's going to be long term. He's got an injury history, and it's tough to rely on someone with that kind of an injury history over the long term. If you can get something of value, remember, Trevor Davis was a 5th-round pick. They got a 6th-rounder 4 years later. It's pretty good value, actually. I mean, for a 5th-round pick, that's pretty good value. To get that with a guy who you just don't know if he's going to stay healthy, and clearly they think he is replaceable. I mean, it's happened after they claimed Tremon Smith. I don't think that's a coincidence. So I think it's just a matter of value at the end of the day. I mean, that's what a lot of these moves come down to. What kind of value do you get?
Mm-hmm. We've got a question here from Michael. How do the Packers match up with the Denver Broncos looking ahead to this weekend? Matt LaFleur, before the season even started, was asked about who he thinks is one of the most formidable defensive coordinators, although he is not a defensive coordinator anymore. He still is coordinating the defense.
Yeah.
Now the head coach, Vic
He's as
Fangio.
defensive coordinator as Matt LaFleur's offensive
Exactly.
coordinator. It's Matt LaFleur's offense. It's Vic Fangio's defense.
So how does the Broncos defense match up with the Packers offense, and how does Joe Flacco and the Packers offense match up against the Packers, as we all know now, has been very strong over the past 2 games, their defense?
Yeah, so the intrigue this week is going to obviously be, can the Packers offense show more improvement against another very formidable Broncos defense? This might not be the Broncos defense of 2015, but it's still a good defense. It might not be the Chicago Bears or Minnesota Vikings defense, but it's still a good defense. And so how much improvement is there? That's going to be big. I think the game, though, comes down to the fact that, Joe Flacco's not coming into this place against this Packers defense and putting up enough points to win. I just don't see it. That's why they play the game. But they've got to like how they match up defensively against Joe Flacco.
So I know they don't know, so you might as well share with them. What are your thoughts about the Packers' likelihood of finding success at home for a second time this weekend against the Broncos?
Yes, I think they're going to win. I just don't see Joe Flacco coming in and scoring enough points against this defense. I think this Packers defense is actually quite good. Not just a byproduct of playing some subpar quarterbacks so far. What's going to be really interesting to me is not what happens with this Packers defense this week. It's what happens next Thursday. What is it, 6 days from now, when Carson Wentz comes. That's a really good quarterback in Carson Wentz. The Eagles, they've been shaky so far, like most teams in the league, but that to me is going to be the real litmus test. This Packers defense should dominate Joe Flacco and the Broncos offense. It should not be close. I think I picked it 24-13. You know, somewhat sloppy. It'd be the 3rd straight week, if that's the score, that the Packers scored more points than the prior week. So there's still some improvement.
But still low scoring.
Still low scoring. I don't think they're clicking on all cylinders there yet. But that defense is just, 1, it's good, and 2, they're not playing a good quarterback this week. So that favors them.
So speaking of the Packers defense, Dick asks, who takes the place of injured safety Raven Green, who has been playing in sort of the nickel, the hybrid safety linebacker spot on defense? Is that Will Redmond, or is that someone like Josh Jackson, who hasn't seen a lot of playing time over the last 2 games?
Yeah, I'm not sure who it's going to be, and that's the one question that they have on defense right now. Now, all told, it's a much better question to have than how are they getting an edge rusher who's going to lock up the outside of the field, or even the back end for that matter. I mean, this is, it's the middle of the field coverage. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know who it's going to be. It'll be very interesting to find out.
Chase says, Ryan, 19-0 is obvious at this point, right? So I'm assuming he's referencing the score, 19-0 this weekend.
That's what he's saying. He's not saying 19-0 Super Bowl.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, that. Oh, maybe
season.
I was gonna say.
That
would make a lot more sense. It's probably the record.
I would say 19-0 on Sunday is just a little bit more likely than 19-0 on the season.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. Well, as McQuaid brings up, Patrick Mahomes is on the way in a few weeks in Kansas City. So
they do have some good quarterbacks they play. They just haven't yet. They won't this week. Carson Wentz is a pretty good quarterback.
He is, but he's playing at a deficit right now. He's down quite a few guys. So Eagles are banged up.
It's just you line up the first 4. Mitch Trubisky, no. Kirk Cousins, It's kind of an I mean, he had some good games against the Packers last year. That wasn't nearly as good of a Packers defense, but he's not a great quarterback. Joe Flacco, no. Carson Wentz is the best of that quartet by far.
All right, well then the real challenge is on its way. Not to mention 3 games in 11 days. It's a short, quick turnaround.
It's funny what Matt LaFleur said today, though. So we can think this, right? I mean, we can be real and just say the Packers should, especially defensively, should own the Broncos offense. Matt LaFleur was not saying that. He was even asked, how are you handling kind of being big favorites this week? And he said, this is a really humbling league. And this is a position that Matt LaFleur has not yet been in. He's not yet been the head coach of a team that is a big favorite, because week 1, they were underdogs. Last week, it kind of felt like a toss-up. I mean, even being here at home, the Vikings, I think everyone nationally, everyone locally understood that the Vikings could have come in and won that game. This is a game that's very different. The Packers are big favorites. What are they, touchdown favorite or something like that? Mm-hmm. They are big favorites this week, so it's a completely different environment for Matt LaFleur to lead his team into, and he said it's a league where there's so much parity that the minute you start feeling good, you can get humbled real quick. So he's been trying to do that. He's been trying to keep his team humble. I'm sure inside that he's had some success maybe, but on the outside, let's be real. This Broncos offense should not come in here to Lambeau Field and come out with a win.
Mm-hmm. Something that the Packers defense, of all of the things, even though Zadarius Smith yesterday said that there's really not a lot that the defense can improve upon, I'm sure we could find some things. And one of the things that Max points out is the Packers defense ability to stop the run game.
Yep.
That was an issue last week, as we all saw, the 75-yard rushing touchdown that the Vikings scored. And what do you think is the key for the Packers to improve upon their run defense?
I think the key for the Packers in general is after last week's got to be big plays. The Vikings they gained half of their yards on 4 plays. The other 56 plays, they had 210 yards, about 3.8 average. It's pretty dominant. I mean, 56 plays, 200 yards is very dominant. 4 plays, 211 yards. They've got to eliminate the big plays, because they eliminated the big plays. I mean, Jair Alexander said after the game last week, and I mean it's a little exaggeratory since they didn't actually score 30 points, but he said that if they eliminated the big plays, they win by 30. Again, exaggeratory, but it's a blowout if they eliminated the big plays last week. It's not a close game. The big plays, the momentum-changing plays are what kept the Vikings into it. So defensively, you're good for, I think, 56 out of 60 is like 93%. You're good for 93% of the game. You're dominant for that much of the game. That other 7% is where they've got to clamp down on.
I think I have a spider on me.
You do.
Can you get it off?
Here we go.
Guys, this is live stream, guys.
Good job not freaking out.
Oh, I was like, what is that animal crawling up my body? All right, we'll take a couple more questions, you guys. We've got a good one here. Something that has been on my mind as well. We haven't discussed it very much on the live stream. Chase asks, has Dexter Williams gotten even a snap yet? And I believe the answer is no. He wasn't even active for the game last week.
Nope.
Do you find that interesting that they've only elected to go with 2 running backs and a fullback last week? And why don't you think Dexter Williams is given any looks or even just the opportunity to play?
Dexter Williams is a developmental prospect. He's not ready to play right now. They like him because of down the road his potential, the upside, if you will. If this was baseball, he'd kind of still be in AAA, kind of working his craft, so to speak, and would not quite be ready for the majors. No, it doesn't surprise me. It would have surprised me if he wouldn't have been on the 53. I mean, to me, Dexter Williams is like that. He's a perfect candidate to be that final 7 on a 53 that you just want to develop. You drafted him. You feel good about him long term, but he's got to work his craft before he can play.
Someone had asked in here about Jake Coomer as well. We'll make this our last question. Robin asking about Coomer. Will he get any playing time at wide receiver? He was on the field for a couple of snaps last week. Do you see the Packers using some of those, bottom of the depth chart wide receivers more in this offense this upcoming week? Matt LaFleur and Nathaniel Hackett both said to a similar question, yes, we'd like to get more people involved in the offense. But to me, I look at that, I'm like, I don't really know if they want to disperse the snaps in such a way that Devontae Adams is getting fewer targets in the offense.
No, I mean, I think they got to get Geronimo Allison and Marquez Valdes-Scantling going first. Those guys are the guys that they've got the talent to be contributors on this offense. Not that Jake Coomer doesn't, but Geronimo Allison, big, tall receivers, played well in the past. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, big and fast. We'll see with Jake Coomer. I would say under 9 snaps. Which would you take?
That sounds high.
High? So under.
Yeah, I would say what they did last week, they were putting him in the red zone offense a lot. So they were in the red zone, 3 times last week? They converted all 3 times. So Jake Coomer was on the field for that. Good for him. Didn't touch the ball. But, hey, I guess that's close to 9 snaps just about. So
9 snaps. Definitely not 9 targets.
No, not 9 targets.
Okay.
No, not sorry to Jake, but perhaps maybe 9 snaps. Okay, I'll give you 9 snaps. Okay, sounds good. And we end this on a perfect note because you mentioned Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
No.
Again, Ryan.
Oh, we doing this again?
I will
come
offer this
on.
up to you if you feel so compelled.
This is so last week.
If Valdez-Scantling scores a touchdown this weekend and he does the Orange Justice celebratory dance, again, I'm just going to pretend I know how to do it by doing
You can
this.
do it.
I can't. I don't know how to do it. But anyway, if he does it, Ryan, I challenge you to do it on this live stream.
I am not limber enough to do that. I just no.
I'll send you some YouTube videos, some instructional videos you can research on Saturday.
I am lacking of groove. I have no groove, so I don't think I'm capable of even trying to pull that off.
All right. Well, I have more faith in Ryan than he does himself, so.
It's probably true, but
again, tell Ryan that you want to see him dance on the live stream.
No.
Anyway, we'll be live before and after the game on Sunday. Before the game, we'll be with Pete Doherty. After the game, we'll have Ryan Wood on. So make sure you guys are coming back later on Sunday. We'll be happy to chat with you and take your questions. Make sure you're always checking out PackersNews.com for lots of stories from us. Tom Silverstein will be live on Sunday on the live blog. That's always a good time. I'm a big fan of the live blog.
Yes.
Yeah, social media. Check us out.
Big fan.
We